to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll, please. Owen, here. Lee.
Here.
Childers, here. Bessler, here. Morales.
Here.
Sullivan. Here. McGrath. Here. Let's start this evening with 207's best, starting with Maine West. Dave, please.
Maine West is pleased to honor Andrea Maldonado as 207's best in the area of extracurricular achievement. To say that Andrea has been involved with Maine West during her 4 years is an understatement. Athletic Director Jared Kirshner was one of the first of many to nominate Andrea for this award and said, "I don't know of anyone who was more involved in such a positive way at Maine West." Mr. Kirshner then compiled the following list of clubs, activities, and sports in which Andrea has been involved. Volleyball, badminton, she was the MVP of her JV team last year and current varsity captain. Competitive cheerleading, all cheerleading, athletic council, Hispanic council, Latino summit participant, varsity club, CSL Leadership Conference participant, and CSL Leadership Conference facilitator, fashion club. She is a 4-time gold finalist for fashion FCLA award in apparel construction. That was sectionals in 2014, state in 2014, sectionals in 2015, and state in 2015, where she won the most outstanding garment award. Warrior Pride, junior, senior leaders, honor guard for the 2014 graduation ceremony, student ambassador, key club, president's club, coach tutor, legend yearbook, National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, teacher assistant for old fashion and math, summer bookstore employee, translator for parent-teacher conference at Algonquin Middle School, fashion show participant and producer, and finally middle school athletic representative for Athletic Council.
Wow.
Each year, incoming Maine West freshman students are challenged and in fact expected to participate in at least 2 extracurricular activities. Andrea obviously took that challenge to heart. In addition to that impressive list of activities, Andrea has also compiled an equally impressive list of awards and honors about Maine West, including honor roll for 4 years, multiple high honor roll awards, AMC math test participant for 4 years, tutor of the month, recipient of 4 Warrior Woo-Hoos, student of the quarter 4 times, Warrior of the semester 2 times, Maine Township High School West Award of Excellence, both in Spanish for 2 times and science for 2 times, and finally the Illinois High School Association Scholastic Academic Award. When speaking to Dr. Haugen about candidates for this award, Spanish teacher Mr. Murin said, "I have 2 words for you, Andrea Maldonado." Clearly, Mr. Murin was onto something. At a time of year when many seniors might look back at their high school careers and lament that they should have gotten more involved, Andrea can say that she did. Extracurricular activities help students discover who they are, and it's clear that Andrea knows exactly who she is and exactly where she's going. We are proud of Andrea and know she will do well in the future. Congratulations to Andrea Maldonado for being among 207's best. And Andrea, would you like to introduce who's with you tonight?
Yeah, I have my parents, Lourdes and Angel, and then my brother, Angel Jr., and then my boyfriend, Marco.
And also, could you share what your plans are for next year?
My plans are for next year is to go to Kent State University to study fashion, but if that doesn't work out, because things change, hopefully I can be a math teacher.
World needs fashion and especially fashionable fashion.
Next up,
Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to introduce our 207's Best for Extracurricular Achievement, Jessica Ilk. Yeah, you can stay standing while I talk about it. Jessica is very active, successful in the classroom, a lot of extra and co-curricular commitments. She's currently got a GPA of 4.39 and has been in a whole bunch of AP and accelerated stuff, and has also been very active in French 5 Accelerated. Right now has also been a member of the Wind Ensemble, which is not really an extracurricular, but has a lot of extra stuff and expectation in terms of commitment. But the focus for tonight's recognition is based on her achievement sort of outside the classroom. So Jessica is a two-time CSF All-Conference athlete in tennis. She's an outstanding musician. She's an officer and scholar as a student of the French Language Club. She's an executive officer of our National Honor Society, one of the founding members of the Rotary Interact chapter, which has grown into over 200 members and is the largest club organization at Maine East. And on top of all that, she recently took a part-time job to buy school supplies for children in an orphanage in Romania, which is where her family's from. So a lot going on there. Basically, in terms of the athletics, she's distinguished herself on the court since her freshman year, serving as a varsity team captain since her freshman year, and compiling one of the best records at #1 singles in our school's history. She was also voted by the CSL coaches to the all-conference team 2 of the last 3 years, and she's served as a team manager for the varsity boys team, which basically meant that she was kind of a de facto assistant coach. John Schwan has been able to really rely on her to arrive in the morning at 6 o'clock, the winter months, sets up the courts for the boys to practice, and also I think her academic leadership was a factor in this year's girls varsity team being recognized by the IHSA as a recipient of the Team Academic Achievement Award. The band program, she's been a clarinetist who's been a very, very strong leader musically in terms of particularly marching band, the Blue Regiment. A lot of extra time goes into planning the preseason rehearsals that take place in the summer, evening rehearsals, all of the sort of ritual that goes on game day, game night in terms of the care and maintenance of the Blue Regiment, and she's been tremendous there in terms of firing people up and getting going. She's also been volunteered to be an orchestra wind player, which means she's preparing a lot of additional music outside regular class time and participating in additional rehearsal and additional concerts as she goes through. In terms of school's French club, she's been secretary, and Bernie Lewis, one of our French instructors, said Jessica's gone above and beyond to make French Club an enjoyable, learning-centered experience for its members this year. The Honor Society, sponsor of the organization, said, whenever I have a critical project that I need to get done quickly, I assign it to Jessica. She's so well organized that she helps me by sending to-do lists of what I need to do. So maybe we should be paying her as a sponsor. In terms of the Rotary Interact, this is where I've really seen her work firsthand. So a few months ago, we have co-presidents. So we saw Olivia, who I described as sort of a force of nature. And Jessica is the much more calm, chill, just gets it done without a lot of fanfare, a lot of flourish, but everybody knows that she's thinking way ahead in terms of what needs to happen. She's very good at having the conversation before the meeting, getting everybody lined up. If there's a question in a meeting with 200 kids in the room, they kind of look at Jessica and we get it all done. And I think that really is indicative of her time. She has a very sort of understated style about her and is recognized by peers, teachers, everybody as an individual who is bright, has a tremendous work ethic, is absolutely dependable. If she says it's going to happen, it happens, and it's delivered beyond expectation. So she's done a lot to make a really successful career for a lot of students and a lot of facets of Maine East. She's going to tell you in a moment what she's doing for college, and just very proud of Jessica. She's a very bright young woman who has a tremendous future ahead of her and has certainly made Maine East a better place in her 4 years. Thank you.
So first, I'd also like to introduce who's with me. Probably my #1 supporter and fan all throughout these 4 years, my mom. So I will be going to Macalester College in St. Paul, and we'll be studying biology, hopefully with a concentration in public health and policy to kind of pursue like my ultimate project to just make healthcare better all around the world. So.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, for McAllister, you have like virtually a full ride for 4 years, which is,
Yeah, so I'm going to be playing Division III tennis there, and we'll be paying about $6,000 when tuition is normally like $65,000. So it's pretty good.
And next, Mesa, Sean, please.
It's with great pleasure I present Bjorn Olafson for Maine South's student to recognize an extracurricular achievement. Bjorn is easily one of the most well-known students at Maine South. I'm going to read a laundry list of things that he's involved in, but just a quick anecdote. I was sitting in an English 3 class, which was not Bjorn's class, and they were doing satire. And so I'm sitting there, and I look up on the screen, and they've done videos, and there's Bjorn. So in addition to this list of things I'm going to tell you that he does, he also is very willing to jump in and help out his friends. Get some things done there. So what has Bjorn been involved in? Senior year, actor in the fall play. He's a Constitution team member, a member of Mock Trial. He's the treasurer of Chinese Club. He's a senior leader for speech team and has won over 5 individual awards, including 2 regional medals. He's on class council, and in that capacity, he served as secretary, treasurer, and vice president over his time at South. He's on leadership council. He's on Tri-Am. He's a member of the President's Club. He's a National Honor Society member and was instrumental in our recent color run for charity that we did about a month ago now. He's a member of the Science Olympiad. In fact, he's the president, and he's won 2 regional medals there. He's a section leader and director's assistant in the marching band. He's a concert band member, a pep band member. He's in Wind Symphony. He's a member of the International Thespian Society. Most recently, he's participated in the Illinois Junior Academy of Science Fair. And if you remember, that's part of our summer curriculum. We do that over the summer and prepare students throughout the year to participate. At the regional level, he was best in category, Naval Academy of Science Outstanding Project Award winner, and American Psychological Association Award winner. And last weekend, they went downstate. And I'm proud to say that Bjorn walked away with four awards at the state level. A Gold Award, an Outstanding Psychological Award, the IJAS Health Science Learning Exchange Outstanding Human Behavior Award, and Best of Category in the Senior Division for Behavioral Science. So he's quite accomplished in the world of science, both regionally and at the state level. Very proud. He's also on the lighting crew. He's a Scholastic Bowl member, a math team member, Hawk Pride leader. He's been a goalkeeper on the soccer team, and he's wrestled a little bit. So he's tried everything on for size. So to say that he has not taken advantage, I think you can say he's taken advantage of everything that a Maine Township school can offer. But he is a true leader, which is really why he's here today. Mr. Guccini mentioned he's our speech team coach. He talked about Bjorn as a leader and mentor in the speech team for 3 years, reaching the IHSA speech sectional the last 2. He's reached the NFL, National Forensic League of distinction, earning over 317 speaker points. He's not only a talented speaker, but also an excellent writer. Bjorn is always willing to lend a helping hand to fellow speech members. We'll miss Bjorn next year. Ms. Headley commented, it was interesting, 2 teachers called him a Renaissance man without conferring on that. Ms. Headley said, I would not normally associate this term with someone from his age group, but truly, like the term implies, Bjorn seems to know so very much about so many various topics. It's fascinating in class to listen to his insights about literature, and often his insights are full of references not only to other works of literature, but also other discipline areas and to the culture at large. Indeed, his rich approach to learning and to life has greatly enriched our AP classroom this year, for which I'm grateful. Mr. Trankel, Bjorn is a champion of the C team. He's a member and is a very successful member, and Mr. Trankel has called him our unofficial captain. And that takes a lot, because if you know that team, a bunch of high-performing students who do very well in school, And for them to look to Bjorn for leadership is saying something. We all want, Bjorn, Mr. Tranquil says, we all want students to not only join our extracurricular activities, but to embrace them and invest in them. Therefore, in my experience, Bjorn's the perfect member of any team. Ms. Aubin added in class, he could make coaching connections between subjects such as transcendental number theory and writings of Henry David Thoreau, which demonstrates his multiple academic strengths. Bjorn also exhibits these various strengths through his impressive extracurricular involvement. He's a perfect recipient of this award, in Ms. Aben's opinion. For me, what's incredible about Bjorn is he's really good at not only leading, but also letting others lead when the time is appropriate. So when you have that much attention and that success, sometimes it's easy to let all that attention fall on you. But he has done, he understands that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And he leads when it's time to lead, supports and follows when he reads that that's what's best for the group. And that level of maturity is rare in a high school student. And we're glad that you bring that level of maturity to Maine South, and Bjorn, we're very proud of you. Congratulations. Stan, let us know who's with you tonight and what your plans are for next year.
These are my parents, Oli and Pam, and I will be attending University of Chicago next year. I'm going to enter undecided, but I'm leaning towards economics and psychology as a major.
This time we would ask the students, their families, and the principals to step out into the hallway for some pictures with Mr. Berry. And it's your opportunity to get out of here before we get to our business. You're welcome to stay. Take us up on that. Congratulations.
Very nice.
Thank you. On the agenda are public comments. Are there any comment cards out there? You can look real quick.
Hey, you're moving. Nothing back.
Updates from the superintendent.
We have three important updates. First, I have sent some information out, but we learned a couple weeks ago that for the second year in a row, all three of our schools are on the Washington Post Challenge Index list. They're all moving their index up. Our schools finished ahead of schools like New Trier, Lake Forest, Glenbrook North, some really, really powerful schools. So we're really, really proud of the work that our schools continue to do. Having made this achievement last year, it says a lot about our teachers and the work that they've done. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. We've got Mike and Johannes with us here. The one thing that is unique about Maine, I think, and speaks to the professionalism of our staff, is we've really worked together to try to get better, and in partnership with our teachers, and that's been a big thing. I sent out a link today for the opening of the Maine Flyer video. The kids from East worked on it. It just turned out phenomenally. They actually had a premiere for it at the Park Ridge Historical Society on Saturday, and some of the gentlemen and folks who were in that video were there talking about walking to school back in the 40s during World War II when there was rationing, and carrying their rifles with them to and from school, because they would literally hunt before school and they would hunt after school, and they often were putting food on the table because you couldn't get meat, couldn't get things like that. Just a really fascinating, and reminded me of my grandfather, who passed a year ago in February and trained infantry platoons during World War II. So it's really a fascinating documentary, and we're going to try to memorialize that officially in each of the buildings with a mural, that it can become a living historical legacy, hopefully triggering some conversations, so when incoming students come in 10 years from now and see the mural, they might have questions, and that may lead to some good discussion, perhaps in U.S. history or other places. So that was cool. And then the other really, really big announcement, and I sent this out today as well, and I'm going to let Hank speak to this, but we won the ISTE National Award for really innovation in digital technology that we're going to be recognized for this summer in Philadelphia. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Hank Thiedley, who I was fortunate enough to bring to the district back in 2007. And what I said to him then, because we were not a very accomplished technology leading school, I said I want us to be a leader in technology in the United States in this district because we can. And this many years later, we didn't just get there with this award, but I think it's been a journey, and Hank's been front and center in the middle of everything we've done to get there. So it's nice to have some role in setting a course and picking somebody like Hank and seeing where we've gotten to. So Hank, if you want to share a little bit about that award.
Sure. The award is it's called the Digital Content and Curriculum Award, and it's from the Center for Digital Education. It's a group that's really focused on government and education branch. We're the 4th school in Illinois to be recognized with this award, one of less than 30 school districts in the entire world that have received it. It's schools that have adopted digital content curriculum, have upgraded their learning, delivery, and teaching skills with digital tools, and have a comprehensive digital strategy are considered for this award. We'll be recognized at ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education Conference this summer in Philadelphia. All 3 principals will be there, Barb and Ken, and a bunch of our teacher leaders will be there as well, and are all invited to be recognized at this event. So it's very prestigious, as Ken said, a very prestigious award to receive. And it reflects very well on our teachers, especially because the first point of that is the adoption of digital content curriculum. So the work Barb has done with the coaches and that our teachers have done, bringing curriculum and content and resources forward, because all of that starts at our teacher level, starting with them, adopting the content, bringing the Chromebooks forward, and doing all the work that they've done there, is really what it's led to that. So, looking forward to that this summer.
I just want to say I think that's really great to have a goal set like that and you setting a goal and you rising to it and the teachers. I think it's really, really impressive. So thank you. I appreciate
it. That is it for me.
Updates from board members?
I attended the Ed Camp organized by teacher Allison Guest from Maine South, and I think there were probably 100 people there. It was the first time it was done here, and there were teachers and principals and community people from all over the Chicago metropolitan area. Primary school teachers, high school teachers, Antioch school principal. A lot of ideas were shared. It was run beautifully, and I commend her and her team. And she was very clear that she couldn't have done it alone. It was an excellent event.
I attended too, and I told Greg we should stop going to recruiting fairs and start going to ed camps, because the people that show up on Saturday morning between 8 and noon, and some of them are longer than that, you really get to meet a lot of interesting educators that go to those things, and I met several, and it was just really impressive. I echo what Mary says. It was a really neat event.
Any other comments? Any other updates for board members? Can we get an update on buildings and grounds?
Yeah, from Buildings and Grounds, we met on April 23rd. There's some maintenance that will go down to the locker rooms at Maine South. I believe it's the boys' locker room.
Yes.
So I already presented the bids. Armored floor was the bidder at $33,800. So we will keep on that.
Next up, finance, Sean.
We also met on April 23rd. We had 2 items coming before the committee, the HR imaging contract, which went out to bid 3 years ago. They were 20% less than the other quotes. Plus, they give the district $30,000 in non-monetary program services such as the student IDs, staff IDs, etc. Schools are very happy with the service. Assistant Superintendent Blue is recommending a 2-year extension consistent with the RFP that went out, and the committee endorses that recommendation. The second item was the mandatory school fees. Dr. Hank Gilly listed the fact that the proposed fee structure is flat with no increase in fees. That too was endorsed by the committee recommended for approval. We did have a third quarter finance update on budget, and while we've only received 2 of the 4 quarterly payments that are owed to the district by the state, at this point in time, if we receive all 4 payments, the projected deficit of the district is currently sitting at $1.2 million. And all expenditures are staying within budgets with no significant variation. That's it.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the official canvass of the April 7th, 2015 consolidated election results. Do I have a motion to approve the official certificate of election results?
I so moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. Judy, roll please.
Childers. Aye. Bessler. Aye. Owen.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sullivan. McGrath.
Aye. All right. Next up, I'd like to invite the board members who were elected on April 7th to come up and take the oath of office. I'll say, you stand on one side, it'll be helpful. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
Jerry Collins.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of member of the Board of Education,
of member of Board of Education,
School of Maine Township High School District 207,
School of Maine Township High School District 207,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I further swear that
I further swear that
I shall respect taxpayer interests
I shall respect taxpayer interests
by serving as a faithful protector
by serving as a faithful protector
of the school district's assets.
of the school district's assets.
I shall encourage and respect
I shall encourage and respect
the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members
the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members
and others who seek a hearing
and others who seek a hearing
before the board
before the board
while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall recognize that a board member
I shall recognize that a board member
has no legal authority as an individual,
has no legal authority as an individual,
and that decisions can be made
and that decisions can be made
only by a majority vote
only by a majority vote
at a public board meeting.
at a public board meeting.
And I shall abide by majority decisions
And I shall abide by majority decisions
of the board
of the board
while retaining the right to seek changes
while retaining the right to seek changes
in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
I shall strive to make decisions
I shall strive to make decisions
that are in students' best interests
that are in students' best interests
and will help all students,
and will help all students,
regardless of race, religion, sex,
regardless of race, religion, sex,
national origin, citizenship, marital status,
national origin, citizenship, marital status,
physical or mental handicap or sexual orientation,
physical or mental handicap or sexual orientation,
achieve their academic potential,
achieve their academic potential,
and acquire a lifelong love of learning.
and acquire a lifelong love of learning.
Congratulations. Next on the agenda, a resolution here honoring Pablo Morales for his service on the board and thanking him for stepping forward and participating in the process and being a great board member during the time he was with us. Thanks so much, Pablo.
I enjoyed my time here very much. It was an honor. You guys were a great bunch. You guys are all doing an incredible job. As a non-voting member, I was looking at the agenda. The one thing I would recommend is that you guys retain this lady right
Okay.
Hey, Pablo.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda is a motion to adjourn for reorganization.
I move that we adjourn to the back.
Second. We take a vote on the resolution.
Lee,
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Sullivan. Owen.
Aye.
McGrath.
Aye. Roll call.
Okay. Owen.
Aye. Present.
Collins.
Present.
Bessler.
Here.
Lee.
President.
Childers.
Present.
Sullivan.
Here.
McGrath.
Here. Next we have the appointment of temporary officers. Reviewed the policy, and I believe that as longest serving board member, Sean, you assume the President Pro Tem.
Okay. And I would recommend, you can stay there for now.
Okay.
We'll see how the election goes. We'll stay there for now. And then I would make a motion that Ginny be appointed as the secretary pro tem.
Second.
You can call the roll on that, please.
Childers.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Sullivan. Collins.
Aye.
Owen. McGrath.
Aye.
That was an
Motion carries. 8C, the election of President of the Board of Education. Are there any nominations for President of the Board of Education for 2015-2016?
I move that we, Margaret McGrath be elected President of the Board of Education.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Let's call the roll on that motion.
Collins.
So a yes vote is electing her president, a no vote would say, no, you're not supporting her as president.
Yes.
Childers.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Bessler. McGrath.
I could have said,
You would have still wanted to be.
You could have even,
Yeah,
you
wanted
could
to
have said
call
no.
it?
That's an exciting one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there a nomination for the election of Vice President of the Board of Education for 2015-2016?
I'd like to nominate Vice President, current board member Carla Owens to serve as 2015-16 Vice President.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. Can you call the roll on that motion?
Sure. Childers.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
McGrath.
Aye.
Okay. Appointment to Secretary of the Board of Education. Recommendation that Ginny Edwards be reappointed as Secretary of the Board of Education for the 2015-2016 year. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
There's a motion. Second. Second, that's one. Call the roll.
Collins.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
McGrath.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Okay, Margaret, now the only question I can ask you is when do I get out of Sinai?
It would appear after we approve the calendar.
Okay. Item 8F is the calendar of the Board of Education meetings for 2015-2016 with a new start time of 6 p.m. and a new location in the building next door, which is housing the board, correct?
As long as we have furniture in.
Okay. And if not, we'll publish that and we'll have.
Yes.
Bring lawn chairs.
Okay. Just for the record, we'll indicate that the dates all published are for June 9th, July 6th, August 3rd, September 8th, October 5th, November 2nd, and December 7th of 2015, January 11th, February 1st, March 7th,
February 8th.
February,
1.
I got February 1.
February 8th, I think.
It's
What's
the
February
board doc
8th?
says 8. And the-
It should be,
and
it should
the
be
agenda
February
says
1st.
1.
It should be February 1st.
I have February 1st.
Yeah, it should be.
The board doc
1st,
has the different.
Okay.
March 7th, April 4th, and if necessary, April 11th, and May 2nd, 2016. Is there a motion to approve this schedule of Board of Education meetings for 2015-2016 with 6 p.m. start time?
I make the motion to approve starting time to 6 p.m.
And on the dates that
And
were.
the dates as we indicated.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the roll.
McGrath.
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Sullivan.
With that, I would move that we adjourn Sindai. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned Sindai. Margaret, I turn the meeting back over to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is item 9, monthly status of finances and a third quarter budget update. Mary, please.
In your board packet is the financial statements for March. At the end of March, we are 75% of the way through the year. Revenues are tracking a little bit behind where they should be, primarily due to the late state payments, as we mentioned in the third quarter budget update. Expenditures are tracking within budget. As we flip to the third quarter budget update, as with the past couple of years, all of our uncertainty for this year rests with how many payments are we going to get from the state? Are we going to get 4 payments? Are we going to get 3 payments? Are we going to get 2 payments? They have till August 31st to send those payments in order for us to count in this fiscal year. These are 60 days after year end. With that, let's say if we get 4 payments, we're projecting a deficit of 1.2 million. We're forecasting 1.1, we have a budget of 1.2. So we're very close, and that's because our expenditures are in line with the budget. Revenue uncertainty is just the state. Our tax payments are in line with the budget. We provided you a very detailed analysis here. I want to point out that this is a new format because of the new financial software system. We tried to mirror the reports in the same manner that you saw them in the past, with revenue first in detail in terms of the different areas, starting with local, then going to state, then going to federal revenue, and the expenditures being by major functions, meaning regular instruction, special ed, athletics, and then each and every fund is listed in the third quarter budget update. I'll entertain any questions anybody has on either the March financial information or the third quarter budget update.
So do you see a possibility of the 1.2 million being found?
No, there is no way that we will make up the deficit of 1.2 million. I won't say there's no way, but it would be,
You said pending all this.
Right,
with all the
if
payments.
what would happen, if the state doesn't pay us, that $1.2 million deficit would grow.
Right.
So I don't see, with 80% of our budget being salary and benefits, I don't see us bridging that $1.2 million gap in that fourth quarter. We're not.
Where does that money come from?
Our savings. So if you recall, during the past several years, we've been saving to do some of the capital projects that we've been planning to do.
The budget is really we spending cash on building projects.
Right, that's, I just wanted
Yep.
to be real clear here, so
Yeah, so
it's
that-
coming out of the 10-year plan?
It's coming out of the 10-year plan. We've saved over $10 million in the last several years. We've saved about 15 in the last couple of years in anticipation of running some deficits in these years to cover that facilities plan.
And wasn't that about the amount we gave back to taxpayers last year?
We, in this year's budget is an abatement of $1.4 million.
Yeah.
So had we not abated, we would have run a slight surplus.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much, Mary. Next up is the instructional service and college follow-up report. Barb, please.
Sure. First of all, once again, I would like to thank Don Marzoff, who's with us this evening, for all the hard work he puts into compiling this report. I'll give you a few of the highlights. This is a report that you see every time this year. We switched over to using the data from the National Student Clearinghouse. When it became apparent we wanted to have more accurate information about whether our students actually enrolled previous to that point in time, we had collected from them self-reporting data. So this is a database, a national database that we can actually see whether or not students have enrolled, where they've enrolled. We can track them with NSC's help over time to see how long it takes them to achieve a degree. In some cases, what the degree is in, and really kind of get the story of when they enroll, maybe stop out for a while, jump back in, do they wait 2 years before they start. It's a fascinating collection of data. And NSC claims that they have 96% of all students enrolled in public, private, 2-year and 4-year institutions throughout the nation in their database. And they are working every year to get better about helping us match our sets of students with the data that they have. We have something new that's been added this year. If you've been following along the last 3 years, you'll note this year that we have some national comparison data. So they have put us in a category of schools where they say our student population is less than 50% low income and less than 40% Hispanic and Black. So we are considered a higher income, lower minority school in that category. And so their national data looks at us in that way.
Can you repeat that last?
Yes, and it's at the top of page 2 of 20 is what I was referencing. If you want to go back, bottom of page 1, top of page 2. The NSC classifies our schools as higher income and low minority suburban schools. You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we actually fall there statistically. Yes, we do, yeah. So where you will see that is on page 4 of the report, which follows the chart listing the schools that don't represent. I'm interested in that. And Don has done a very nice job of giving you, I think, a bird's eye view, first of the district, then followed by the data in a similar format for each of the 3 high schools. So to highlight this, 81% of our graduates for the class of 2014 attended college in the fall. It's important to notice that they come out with a second report which picks up the students that attend later in the school year. So we're missing, what, Don, would you say?
Typically, it's just a couple percent.
Couple percent on top of that?
Yeah.
For the full class of 2014. This is a number that's comparable to our previous 7 classes. As he's said here, we're falling in the range of 76–82% of our graduates attending college in their first fall after high school graduation. Of that number, 52% of our 2014 graduates enrolled at a 4-year school, 28% at a 2-year school. And you can see his, the charts that follow kind of give you a picture of how that looks over the last 7 years. The national data is in the chart below that paragraph. So whereas we had 81% of our graduates from the class of 2014 enroll immediately in the fall after graduation, similar high schools in the previous year's class of 2013, and our kids are in that number as well, they were 73%. So we're beating the national comparison of that category of higher income, lower minority schools. And we're going to be getting more national data from them in the future, which will be good because we never had that before, so we'll be able to track and see how we're doing on a number of fronts. Do you want to speak any more to that? Or does that sort of adequately capture it?
That does capture it. When we first started using the service, I contacted them because I wanted some comparison data. Okay, we know what our numbers are, but what does that mean? And at the time, they didn't feel confident that they had a large enough sample size to make these comparisons. So it was like 2 years ago, they finally felt that they did. And so now we've only got data for the first year or two, but you can imagine as they keep going, then we'll be able to see graduation rates in 4 years and 5 years as they kind of continue following these cohorts. So what I had done before was try to go find comparable national statistics, but the data is collected in a different way. It's really hard to make those direct comparisons, but now because we're looking at data that's collected in exactly the same way, I'm a lot more comfortable with these comparisons.
And you can see, which I think is a surprise for some people, what the top destinations are for our graduates. Oakton is at the top, followed by U of I and U of IC and so forth. This, of course, is for the entire district. As you page beyond this page to the next page, and we're still talking about district data, Don has determined that there are a chunk of students that we can't find in the National Student Clearinghouse data because there's no enrollment records for them. It's about 14.6% of our graduates. And it may be that they told us they were going to go to college, but for a variety of reasons, personal or otherwise, they didn't. Maybe they entered the workforce, they had other interests. And some of them are maybe not matches because the National Student Clearinghouse still needs to get better at matching names and birth dates and maybe odd spellings of names and so forth. But I have to give credit to Don because unlike, I would say, most any other district, he has worked like crazy to track down using whatever data we have to match with whatever data they have so we can work out some of these matches even internally. And given us the best information we have about where our graduates are and what happens to them. So,
are there additional sources that would help you with that?
Not that I'm aware of, other than our college and career counselors. You know, it's occasionally, I know we've had students who they know went to Notre Dame, but they didn't show up as enrolled in Notre Dame. And they told me, well, you don't get into Notre Dame and not show up. So that must have been a case where their spelling of the name was different, or I've seen the birth dates reversed, if they, because they're bubbling in forms, and so it doesn't match and we don't pick them up. But short of using college and career counselors and maybe even tracking some of these kids down, I don't know.
Years ago, prior to No Child Left Behind, there was a plan that was supposed to be adopted that each child entering kindergarten would get a unique ID number, and that ID number would be tracked with them all the way through college. And so we have a national system, and wouldn't that be great? Because what ends up happening is we literally have to pay for a service to do this forensic work. Now the clearinghouse data has gotten better and better every year, but it's funny because at the K-12 level, you have to track every child every year with a multitude of data, and then it just stops when they get to the higher ed level. The tide's changing a little bit. There was a national consortium, I think in 2011, of about 33 different states that began to do a deeper dive into how our kids doing in college. And so I think the tide is turning. The accountability that we've had at our level for 15, 20 years is now hitting higher ed. So I do think it's going to get better and better to track this. I have a question on the band. So we're slotted in a similar demographic district. Do you know how many different ways they slice that in terms of?
Yeah, so it's urban, suburban, or rural. Higher income or low income, higher ethnic diversity, lower ethnic diversity. Those are the three that they cross-match on.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're low. Is it just that binary, like 50% is a demarcation or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we make it there soon.
Yeah, well, 2024 would be, I mean, America's supposed to become majority minority 2044. We would get there in 2024. So that would put us in a different category in 24. Okay.
So I also think what's interesting is that there's an additional 3 to 4% of our graduates who don't enroll in the fall, but they enroll sometime later in the first year. So you have to add that to the bucket. And then what I really like is that our retention rate is pretty high. 91 to 93% of the students who start in their first year return to the second year. And I think that's where a lot of our emphasis is. We're talking about this now, is how to make sure we bridge for some of our kids who maybe aren't thinking about going to college, that we make this a reality through dual credit, through bridge programs with Open, so that they do actually get started. Because the data would suggest that if they get started, if they have this mindset of, yes, I am a college student, I started a college transcript, then it may take them longer. And we have data to show that it'll take them, some students, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever. But if they start, at least we've got a fighting chance that they're going to finish. And I think that's one of the things that from our end we're going to be focusing on, you'll be hearing more about.
And Dr. DeVarga has been involved. We've had our 8th community partnership meeting where we're really working on our college and career pivot that you've all been involved in. I know, Terry, you heard a little bit about it the other night, but that's the data that Dr. DeVarga is talking about is why the Washington Post list matters so much. The House Bill 3428 that I sent information out the other day is why that matters so much, particularly if we can get more traction for the dual credit, where we can get our kids to start earning a transcript at the college level with expanded dual credit partnership with Oakton. I think we can continue to get better at this, and that's really what the focus is. I mean, we can, and I'm using this data with our community partners when we talk to them about this is where we can improve, not only increasing the number that are getting diplomas, but better precision of making sure we don't have the 1 out of 2 that get a diploma and then they're underemployed, because that's a common phenomenon, and that's where the better counseling and career readiness aspect comes into play.
Also with the dual credit, it's going to cut education costs in half.
Bingo.
And kids are going to walk out of college without the debt that they're getting.
So I had a meeting the other day, and that's, Mary, I preach that all the time about, our kids hold $1 trillion of debt in this country. It's stopping the economy in many, many ways. It's holding kids back. And so one of the community members that was in my meeting the other night emails me a story about, he's a salesman, about a client whose child went to a very nice private liberal arts school to get a degree in theater, and couldn't get onto a troupe that was, where they could make any money. So, he's managing $72,000 worth of debt and working at a job in Milwaukee for $15 an hour. And just the calculus on that is not one of our students, I don't believe, but it's a common story, where if that's really where you want to go, Illinois State has a really, really nice theater program, for example, that's very affordable. And so that's around some of the counseling pivots that we're going to try to do to get better. But you're right, the more dual credits we can get, also the more that the college will accept the advanced placement. It's a huge piece of this, huge piece.
Question in addition to reference to dual credit. Let's say if we have universities who are aggressively trying to bring their schools into their schools, offering a special dual credit or college credit for half prices, I guess. They're trying to offer that aggressively. For example, like Northeastern University, they're working on a dual credit with the high school, and if the student can take the courses or exams, and if they pass a certain level, and if they do go to that particular university, they offer that,
And having worked with a number of four-year universities, it's not uncommon. Here's the real key, though, is what you want to have in place is, let's just say Oakton, or it could be Northeastern, doesn't really matter. Let's say that we get a dual credit for English 101. It's the most commonly taught dual credit course in America. It's often taught at the junior level. Let's say that any of our students, and that's one that could be really widely accessible, so I would say 70 or 80% of our kids, if not more, could get a dual credit in English 101. What you want to have is you want to be able to take it anywhere. Certainly any state school in Illinois, but you really want them to be able, you want to get a lot of kids with that credit, you want to be able to go to anywhere. So if they go to Iowa to follow in the footsteps of Greg Dietz, that they've got an English 101 credit. You know, when they get to Iowa, by the way, is not on the list, but Triton is, I noticed on our list this year. Very proud of that.
Shown it.
Yeah. Actually, what it is Triton has a lot of really cool programs. So up at my optometrist, they've got some specialized programs. So they've got some really niche programs that I think are recruiting a lot of kids just because they, you know, they have some of these skilled positions where you can go there for a couple of years and get a career.
So Ken, would you like me to sign you up for the ophthalmic tech program?
Is that what it is?
That's what it's called.
I do have a question in reference to the high-skilled job career opportunity. I think we did discuss this previously. Many of them will be attending 4-year universities, 2-year university, and getting an associate degrees and save the cost, and maybe take the major courses in their junior and senior year to properly graduate and getting a job. But at the same time, even though that's a lower percentage number, but we are seeing slowly increasing number of students who just graduate high school and they're trying to get a job. And what we are trying to help with them is kind of lead them to high-skilled jobs, as we mentioned. What's the data related to that number? Because matter of fact, Mary and I attend the National School Board conference, and there is a specific section talked about such, and I was able to get all that data, and I would like to share that numbers, what's happening in the nationwide trend about students who just graduated and looking for a job field, and what are the concentrated subjects that as a high school to try to help and get it done, like science courses, math courses are critically important to getting that high skilled jobs. Where are we in that kind of field?
The types of our courses that will lead to jobs are typically certification courses. So for CNC milling, for example, that's if you can get a certificate at the high school level, that's a job. There's potential to get a job there. CAD, but often what a lot of the manufacturing places tell us up here is that they're looking for someone that's got acuity, they're interested in it. If they've got skill and enough talent to operate things, they'll actually many times pay for them to continue to go on and get more schooling degrees and so forth, even if it's an engineering degree. So it's really there, but it's a certificate usually. It's not though, Jen, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that we could create a system where possibly by high school or a half a year after, someone has an associate degree in a high-skilled tech area that would lead right into a job. Often that partnership could begin in high school. They might be working for a company while completing that associate's degree or beyond. So that's the real key is in some parts of America, kids are getting an associate's degree even at the high school level. So they could leave and go into some of those high school jobs, those high-skilled jobs right out of high school.
Do you want me to mention what we're talking about with Oakton?
Sure.
So, actually inspired by some of our neighbor districts and some conversations they are having with Triton, we are engaged in a conversation with Oakton to try to duplicate and customize for ourselves a program that would allow students by the time they are graduating to have 15 credit hours in core areas. So essentially a semester's worth of college under their belt in dual credit areas. So for example, the first nut to crack is what Dr. Wallace said, English 101. I hope that within 2 or 3 years, maybe less, we can have that opportunity for our seniors who take our English course that we worked with Oakton to make sure we're hitting all the high points they think we should have. And that those kids can then have that as a dual credit in English. We want to look at a course in social studies, we want to look at a course in math, a course in science, and then an elective area. So that they would have 15 credit hours as a possibility. That would be really the cost of an application fee, one-time application fee of $25, and I don't believe much more than that. It would be taught by our teachers. We have certain requirements we have to meet. We have to meet the requirements of an open teacher, but most of our teachers do have their master's degree in those fields anyway. And at the same time, I've also exchanged with the Oakton administrator that I'm talking to a list of the credentials that we have already on our certifications, because they're looking at realigning and adding some. So we do have some certification kinds of courses like CNC and some computer courses and so forth, but we may be able to increase some of those as well in alignment with what they're doing. So I fully expect in the years to come, we're going to be able to have students who have courses that are portable, who are not only going to work at Oakton, but they would be the IAI transfer courses that should be accepted within the state of Illinois, and save their parents at least a semester's worth of tuition and have some of the gen eds out of the way and be able to, more directly start exploring their major field more quickly. So this is in the works.
And the thing is, those kids, I mean, the more credits you can get in the bank for a kid, the more likely you are to get them to the finish line to get that diploma. So we're really working hard. Barb's been great this year. Our team of career and technical education people have been great. Dr. Cook, who you've met, that we hired for the new career coordinator, has been phenomenal. We have literally more than doubled our partners this year who would take our kids for internships. So we've been really working hard on this all year and making some really good progress.
Do we also have a data somewhere reference to Maine Township District students attending Oakton, most popular one, I guess, for 2 years, and then right after they graduate, move forward to 4 years?
It is reflected. It'll end up. Go ahead.
The data does include. It has a record for every term that a student is enrolled, so we can see if a student went to Oakton for 2 years, earned an associate's degree, and then went to a 4-year institution. The challenge is, to go through the data, you almost have to do it student by student. What happened to this student? What happened to this student? But it's doable.
I have a son that's graduating at UIC next weekend who did 2 years at Oakton and is finishing his biology degree. So we've got students doing it. It happens all the time. Oakton is actually, unfortunately, it's too bad that it takes a legislative solution sometime, but it is a really good partner and has the potential to really help our students tremendously moving forward.
And then one just quick question, reference to earn a degree in 4 years and 6 years and so on. Looks like our trend right now for most of university students attending 4-year university, they do graduate much later. Average is about 6-7 years. Compared to maybe like 20, 30 years ago when we used to go to universities, we tried to graduate within 4 years. So, and I see that only 58% are roughly graduating within the 4 years, and then 73% are graduating 6 years and so on. What could be our high school, our responsibility to encourage somehow the students to hopefully graduate within possibly 4 years?
That's everything we've talked about. I mean, that's getting a head start in high school is the best thing you can do. But I would bet if we can. The problem is when you and I went to college, you couldn't stitch the data together. First of all, there were far fewer students going to college, and my bet is if you had data, it would look like this or worse. You maybe just happen to get through in 4, but the problem is the patterns and the reasons that people get in and out of school are the same now as they probably were then. I don't know that necessarily people necessarily made it in 4 years any more then than they do now. I actually think there are better systems in place to get kids through. Schools, first of all, are making a more concerted effort to get through 4. Plus, there are way more AP classes now than there were when you were in high school, and there are way more dual credit courses. So the system that we have in place now is far advanced on this. So the problem is we don't have apples to apples data from that era, but I would say that moving forward with the clearinghouse data, we can continue to try to get better on that.
The other thing too is, remember that the ACT test was added to the Prairie State mix a number of years ago. So every kid has an ACT score to look at and start thinking about college. That wasn't true when you and I went to college. You know, you had to go make an effort to take that. It wasn't a state requirement in the state of Illinois. Now, I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but at least in the past several years, they had that opportunity given to them for free to take an ACT test.
Since you mentioned about ACT test, I know Maine Township, our school ACT average is 21.5, correct? I believe, and then yeah, nationwide is like 20 point something. So even though that's a nice high rate number, and when the students were trying to maybe attend maybe more high level universities, as we consider accepting a based on the ACT scores though, like BYUC, Cambridge, and anything else.
What was, I'm not sure what your question was.
Our Maine Township School ACT score, average score is 21.5, and I think that's above national average, definitely. With that score, I think they could able to attend far better so-called nationally known universities. Will the students be interested in maybe focusing on going to such?
We've got students going to Stanford, to
Right.
MIT, Caltech,
And actually,
University of Chicago. I mean, we've got.
I asked Don this afternoon, I said, you know, was it last year, Margaret, that you asked for statistics on how many students we had going to elite schools?
I did.
Or was it you? So he's gonna update that, and we can bring that to you, or put it on Friday notes. So that you have-
Friday notes would be.
Friday notes.
And
More
actually-
helpful.
And actually, Harvard has a good report out on this. You know, getting into an elite school, there's a lot of gamesmanship in that, and one really has to know what you're going to school for. There are some things that if you go to school for, that even if you had to borrow the money to go to Harvard, it might be worth it. But there are plenty of things that if you had to have a lot of debt, it wouldn't be worth it. So there's being more discreet about the counseling piece is actually a part of this.
I mean, agree with that. But as a parents, they do tend to seriously looking into any schools where they are attending to. How many students are attending elite schools? Based on that percentage, especially for the immigrant parents, we are very, very concerned about what schools, high schools, students after they graduate will be going to those elite schools. And based on that, they are willing to sacrifice their life financially to move into that location to go to that school. And that is a kind of realistic fact too, that we cannot kind of like let it go. And I know we've been talking about numerous about that's not the only reason, but based on the national data and so on, the parents are concerned about
That's why I'm so happy to report that Maine East finished ahead of Glenbrook North on the Washington Post list.
And we'll get that information out in Friday.
So have fun perusing the rest of those pages, and those are the highlights.
Is there any attempt whatsoever, or is this just a futile exercise to look at who goes to graduate school? Is it just impossible to track? I don't mean to open another whole can of worms, but that would be a fascinating data point too.
There are institutions that report this. You do see students that get MDs and JDs and things. However, I don't think all institutions consistently report that. So when they affirm that yes, the student did, and we know they did, but I think there are a lot of institutions that don't report that information. So they're out there, but we don't know.
If we can't get it for everybody, though, it really is. It's skewed. It's very skewed. Got some really interesting numbers year to year over year, I'm sure. All right, next up we have the AGPL presentation.
I'm going to introduce our 3 assistant principals for teaching and learning very briefly while they get set up. As you know, our superintendent is ever concerned about us getting better and having a laser-like focus on teaching and learning. And to that end, the past several years, we have embarked on several initiatives. You know, we've become a professional learning team district. We've added instructional coaches. We've revised our teacher evaluation system in compliance with the mandate from the state. We've worked to employ or implement instructional coaching plans. We're working on our curriculum framework. We're focusing on our high-impact instructional strategies. All of that to make sure that what we are doing in the classroom is providing an excellent education for our students and working on our quality of our teaching. We were at work at this 6 years ago, but I have to say that with the hiring of these 3 assistant principals for teaching and learning, we have gone into hyperspeed. It has been a pivot that has been like none other. And I know Ken was talking about wanting to do this years ago, and we finally made it happen with the board's approval, so that this is coming to the conclusion of the first year of bringing on board Jill, Ben, and Susan. And we've asked them tonight to give you a very brief overview of what their year has been like so that you could agree with us to the value of having added them to our team. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this presentation over to the dynamic trio.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ben Collins. I'm at Maine West.
I'm Jill Giocaris. I'm at Maine South.
And I'm Susan Savage at Maine East.
And we're going to take you guys through 4 elements of our work today: the teacher evaluation process, our work with curriculum, our professional development work with the instructional coaches, and future goals for our position and the district with teaching and learning. In terms of teacher evaluation, we're a part of this large culture shift right now in terms of getting more feedback to the teachers. And the teachers have been really amazing in working with us and partnering. Last year, there were 344 informals. This is a rough estimate per building. This year, we're looking at about 613. So as you can see, we're getting double the amount of feedback with all of our teachers. We've designed and facilitated support sessions for all our teachers surrounding the teacher evaluation process so we can get to new understandings of what this looks like and what certain aspects of their instruction can be in the classroom. We've also created process changes to provide teachers more feedback. That acronym FCM stands for the Formative Contact Meeting. That's a meeting between the teacher and their evaluator so they can get more feedback and more conversations happening before they get their summative rating. We've also done trainings with our formal observation rubric and our informal debriefs and comments that we've done for all our teachers. We've also worked hard to help develop all of the evaluators in the building. So we've supported all our evaluators through professional development through various means. We facilitated the norming of the evaluation rubric at our monthly DLC meetings. That's where all the administrators in the district come together. And we talk about what certain aspects of classroom instruction look like in music, in social science, in English, all across the gamut in our rubric. We also provided support for evaluators through school-based leadership workshops that the 3 of us have run. And finally, this is not part of the teacher evaluation system. This is part of our visits to classrooms that we call non-evaluative. We're calling them program reviews. By the end of the year, we will visit 300 classrooms. We're trying to visit 10 classrooms in each department in each school. And we go in for just a few minutes. There are certain aspects that we look for and certain things that we record data on, and then we exit the classroom. We're really trying to get data on student engagement and learning targets to determine the future focus and how we can help improve student learning here in 207 for years to come.
All right, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about curriculum and professional learning teams. Do you have that framework? So the framework that you see right there is the district-wide curriculum design model that we're using. And this is a very popular visual. Any teacher in our district right now knows this because it's the first year that we're implementing this district-wide in every school, every department, every PLT. I think any teacher would say, yes, we've seen this. And we all actually have a common language now. We have the A, B, C steps. And so this allows teachers to talk about where they are in the curriculum process with a common language and a common understanding of what they need in order to move to the next step. So really, everybody was in sort of a different place. Some teams more ahead than others. We want to get everybody on the same page, and we had goals to get people down to building assessments, particularly common assessments, where they're going to be measuring student growth across large groups of students. So, a few things that went with the curriculum framework this year. The first thing was we have literacy frameworks in every building, which means at 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, we have clear literacy goals, expectations for all 9th graders. Those are really like higher level critical thinking Common Core standards that we've laid out, so we know exactly what we're covering in 9th grade, and the other departments, besides English, can then see that, and then they can join on and support those literacy goals within their disciplines. To get to a higher level of reading, understanding, critical thinking, and writing across the school. We're looking at skills you can measure over time. This was a very big shift this year when you're looking at the new standards, whether it be Common Core standards and NGSS science standards. They're higher level thinking standards, which means that we have to develop performance assessments. So it's not about knowledge or I learned this, I've memorized it, but it's a higher level thinking with a rubric that's analyzing how students are growing on very specific skills. Again, we talk about common assessments, and our real goal is that basically we can say every student by standard by student where they are, which means if a parent comes in and we're discussing how their students are doing in English class, it's not they're having some trouble with reading, but they're having some trouble with this standard, this objective, and then we can provide interventions for those students. So that's where we're moving towards, and we have made great gains with that this year. Next year, in blue, we're going to be really laser-like focused on the results by grade, by level of class, and by teacher. And we're sharing those results with each other and our teams in order to inform our practice and make decisions about what we're doing next week in class looking at student data. So, we have a 4-year curriculum plan. This is across the district. We're in 2014-15, so we put success because we've been monitoring that curriculum work this year very, very closely. Every Wednesday during collaboration, we're looking at how every single team is doing, and teams that need support, we push them along. So that's where we are. We've made our goal, and we're actually, some people are ahead of their goal, and we're going to continue to move ahead with that next year as well.
Another big part of our position is professional development and instructional coaching. So those kind of go hand in hand because instructional coaching has been implemented to help with, for our teachers to continue to develop. So for the main sort of focus of our work for professional development this year has been in sound assessment design training for teachers, which goes right along with what Susan was just talking about with our curriculum framework. We knew when we launched at the beginning of the school year that in order for that framework to be successful, we needed to give teachers and teams professional development right in the moment that they needed it. We couldn't, like, at the beginning of the year, give this huge training that was going to walk teams through the entire process and then hope that they kind of remembered what to do when they got to step C or D or later on when they started developing their assessments. So we got all the teams going with steps A and B of that curriculum framework. And somewhere around November, we did train a large part of our district, the teachers, the people who were ready, the teams that were ready, in sound assessment design, because most teams at that point in time were ready to start writing some assessments. A lot of our teachers had had assessment literacy, so this was just like a booster shot of remember what we learned and how can we take that further to make sure that our teachers were learning or were approaching that assessment design to create the best possible assessments that they could that would be valid and reliable. And as a product of that training, we have teachers talking about levels of thinking, and are we really assessing the highest level of thinking that we could be? Are we really assessing what we really intend to be assessing? So we have the most accurate information that we can collect in order to act on it, like Susan was just talking about. And then as we moved past November, the next bullet there, embedded professional learning, we used our instructional coaches to get in with teams to help support them in that process. So we gave that training, that booster shot, but then when a team was ready to actually get to work, we sent instructional coaches out to them. So teams would let one of us know in our buildings, hey, next week we're going to be working on putting a rubric together. Can you send somebody? And we would work with our instructional coaches to see who was available to go help coach that team through the development of that rubric. Or if there was a team working on, hey, we need to develop selective response questions that are going to assess reading. which coach can go or what, and we act as coaches and our department chairs act as coaches also on Wednesday mornings, as well as some of the other building administrators. So we have an army of people who can go coach and learn alongside, but also help be just another set of eyes and offer feedback, an outside perspective on those assessments that those teams are designing and the data that they're looking at. We also can help coach those conversations as well. And that's like another sort of aspect of our work with professional development, not related to the curriculum framework as much, but we are also working with Barb and our new teacher induction coordinators to help build out our new teacher induction program. This is really important because we have our new teachers move through 4 years, and we want to make sure that when they are done with their new teacher induction program that they are really meeting the highest level of expectations we have for our teachers in our district. So that's sort of the overview of professional development. You already are aware of the fact that we have instructional coaching for all teachers in our district, something we're very proud of here in our district. And we just thought we would share with you, as part of our role, we provide administrative support for that program. But really the instructional coaches do the majority of the heavy lifting there, where we meet with them weekly though, and we do everything we can to support them in those roles. And we did collect some data from teachers this year on that program that we thought would be important for you to see tonight. And as you can see, this Agree and Strongly Agree are in the green and the blue. And so teachers who reported that the overall coaching plan was positive, largely agree and strongly agree. Next slide, teachers who reported that the overall coaching plan improved their teaching, largely agree and strongly agree. And teachers that reported that the overall coaching plan benefited their students, largely agree and strongly agree. So we're working with, in our role, we're working with the instructional coaches to continue to improve and refine those plans so that the instructional coaching plans our teachers are engaged in can have the strongest possible impact on student learning. So we made some tweaks for next year, and we'll revisit that from year to year to make sure that we're offering teachers plans that are going to impact student learning. Teach take one of these.
Right, so overall future goals, having pretty much almost a year behind us, we're going to continue moving forward, solidifying a lot of the work that we've done, but also making some changes as we go forward. One of the first things we'd like to do is involve department chairs and teachers in instructional rounds to set goals for problems of practice. This is something we began doing this year with our program review, but we got so much out of it, we really want to have other people doing it with us so that we can then go in, look at the data that we've gathered so far on student engagement and targets, and then have department chairs and teachers go in and gather data themselves so that they can see it firsthand and then they can set their own departmental goals moving forward with some of those instructional practices.
A second future goal for us is supporting PLTs in examining student data. We did a lot of work with PLTs this year to make sure that they were poised to collect accurate, valid, and reliable data. And now we want to offer a similar structure next year with embedded professional development so that teams are actually analyzing that data effectively and using it to inform their instruction.
And finally, our goal is to continue to improve student learning through professional development for evaluators, teachers, and instructional coaches. And ultimately, we're trying to build collective capacity with everybody here in 207 so we can help students to everyone's maximum potential through their jobs. Yes.
I'm sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to do that. On the very first one, it makes me wonder about the Danielson model, and is it working in conjunction with it? Is it competing with it? Or is it making it smoother and easier because you're incorporating this in what you're doing?
Yes, when we began to do when we did the program review, we looked at what are high impact strategies, but we also looked at the Danielson rubric and we kind of matched it up. So we looked at areas. When we did our program review, we weren't looking on like a component of Danielson, but we looked at an area. For example, learning target awareness. We wanted to know if students were aware and learning targets. But that aligns with many components in Danielson, but it aligns very well. So we have 4 kind of areas of practice that we looked at this year. Learning targets, learning target, student awareness. It's one thing if the student knows it. Student intellectual engagement, and student ownership of the classroom. So those 4 areas align with many components of Danielson. So we did a crosswalk with basically Hattie, visible learning, meta-analyses, and the framework to pick 4 things. And we're going to try to keep working on those.
Because it seems even though it's gotten somewhat accepted or dealt with, this might make it a little
Yes, yes,
Well, we
yes.
should see teacher growth in our evaluation data because of this work. So as we do these program reviews and then we help that data will inform our professional development endeavors. And then as teachers grow, and even teachers participating in these instructional rounds is a form of professional development. And we'll see instructional practices continue to improve as a result.
Is this new teacher induction new with the 3 new assistant principals, Barbara?
It's not new, we've had this before, but it hasn't been fully developed through 4 years. So we took our mentor coordinators and them and I, is that it? And I think there was a couple of coaches who went down to Springfield for the state conference on mentoring and new teacher induction to kind of get some new ideas, look at the program we had, look at it more comprehensively. So it was a program that moved from first year of non-tenure through 4th year of non-tenure and try to outline what would be a reasonable pathway so that by the time teachers are at the point where we would give them tenure, they have been exposed to what are the core competencies that we would want a teacher in our district to have. So I would say we've definitely had year 1. We've had some remnants here and there, but we really spent some time this year to kind of flesh out what we would want to see coming forward.
Tied somewhat to our previous discussion about the cost of education, I don't know what the statistics are today, but I think people that come out of college with a teaching degree, the drop-off is, I heard one time was 4 years, 5 years, so they spend all that money, they're still paying on it, and they don't want to teach anymore for whatever reason. So maybe the new teacher induction will help them be more immersed.
I know when I've been part of the recruitment fair, I'll often get questions from teachers who are interviewing us as we are interviewing them, and I'm sure Greg can attest to this too. They want to know what kinds of professional development our district has to support them. And I think we're unique in that way, that we really do take that seriously, and we want to try to build their capacity and not just let them flounder and perhaps burn out because they don't have the supports they need.
We've never really had a problem losing teachers, but I think this pivot will not only help us continue to retain teachers, which is our goal obviously, but I mean, at our Institute Day a few weeks ago, we had 86 or 88 of our teacher leaders presenting to the rest of our teaching staff. I mean, that's really what it's all about. You want your teachers to be respected and honored by evolving into, to be anything, to where they have an opportunity to lead other teachers, and I think that's an extra level of fulfillment that we hope all of our teachers get to experience, where the work that they do is valued enough that they get to work with training other teachers.
And Mike doesn't have to keep meeting new teachers all the time.
I also think it's great that you're including teachers in this, and also the survey. It was nice to see a survey and see how they responded.
Oh, where was this in the agenda?
It's on the paper agenda. It must not have gotten into board docs. It's under instructional services.
Okay, so it just says college follow-up report.
There should have been a B. There is on the
Well, there is a
paper.
B on the,
Not in the board docs. Not on board docs.
Not with what we had to review before the meeting.
there's a B on my.
It's not on the electronic.
It's
And
not on the board
that's
docs.
what we have to be prepared for the meeting.
All right.
So just as chair of the education committee, I was a little surprised because I don't know anything about it.
Are there any other questions or comments? No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good job.
Next up is monthly update of FOIA request.
We have one, and one of these months I'm going to be able to say zero.
Okay.
And status is?
It is, we have, pending.
So, thanks. That's the actual report.
I was already jumping into zero.
Yeah. A little too excited about zero.
Guy can dream.
All right. We have an amended tentative final school calendar for 2014-15. Information line, correct?
Yes, every year at this time, we send our final school calendar to the state of Illinois after we are fairly sure we will not have any more inclement weather days. And so this year, we have a 5-day buffer because we're required to go 174 days. Our calendar has 179 student attendance days, and we had 5 emergency days that we had to take, so we just barely made that. One more day, we'd be going to Friday, June 12th, I think. But so this is a formality. We send the ISBE our final amended calendar each year at this time.
So let's hope no flooding.
That would be the risk.
We've had that before.
We have had it before.
Yes. All right. And then also informational is the 2015-2016 calendar.
Yes, this is the exact same calendar that the board approved back in, I want to say November. And what's special about this one is this is the calendar that puts us in the position of having final exams for the first semester before winter break. So you will see we are starting with students' first day on August 17th. And however, students will finish the school year with 3 days of final exams before Memorial Day of 2016. So it will be a short summer this summer. However, I think come a year and 3 weeks from now, I think people will be pretty happy with this calendar.
Okay. And next item is Board of Education policies and procedures first reading. Is there a change in one of these? Or
Yes, let me, the policy 6302, student and family privacy rights, that was a brand new policy that whenever we have a brand new policy, I make sure I want to make sure Franzik chimes in on this. And we gave the recommended policy from press to Franzik, and Franzik has some suggestions for us. So we will be, and I just got those at 3 o'clock today. So we will probably be convening the policy committee to look specifically at that newly drafted one with the suggested changes to the language from Franzik that differ from the press policy.
So no first reading on that.
No first reading on 6302. However, 6900, equal educational opportunities for students, is ready to go, in my opinion, for tonight's first reading. The previous policy was, in my opinion, too narrow in scope and kind of outdated. It didn't have any references to transgender students, and it didn't have any references to homeless students, and therefore the new policy that you see in front of you, or the revised policy that you see, that is it's about 99.9% recommended by press. The only difference is our references to our specific uniform grievance procedures. So that's the only difference, because that's where we direct our students and parents to whenever they have a complaint, is to our uniform grievance procedures. So I would be happy to answer any questions now, or if anybody wants to email me questions prior to next month's board meeting, feel free to do that, and we can probably address those at our policy committee as well.
21 years probably needed a little refresh. Any questions for right on the policy? Okay. Next, can I have a motion on the consent agenda items A through F?
So moved.
Second? Second? Okay. Any questions or comments about any item? Or not, take the roll, please.
Childers? Aye. Reed?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Collins? Aye. Bessler? Aye. Sullivan? McGrath?
Aye. I have a motion on item 14, additional school fees and supplemental resources for 2015-2016. Second. Hank, you want to tell us about these?
Yes, Last month, we brought the course fees. This is the other pair to this, which is the school-wide fees. These fees reflect no increase from the prior year's fees. We have, however, added the option of students paying for AP tests beginning in August when they sign up for the courses. That allows families to do those on the same payment plan we have for all of our school fees. So rather than having to pay for those fees all at once in May, they could scatter that cost over the course of the year. There's also a couple additional catch-up resources listed there and a couple of course fees that didn't make it into the last one. So if there's any questions on those, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, Judy, if you call the roll, please.
Lee?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Childers? Aye. Bessler? Aye. Collins? Aye. Sullivan? McGrath?
Aye. Next up, can I have a motion on item 15, summer curriculum projects for summer of 2015?
So moved.
Second? Second. Clark, please?
Sure. So to support all the good work that our APLs were talking about and some of our school improvement initiatives as well and other needs in the building, we look at our grant funding first and then some of the line items in my budget to fund projects that teachers and departments and building principals propose. We have a meeting where we all come together, we look at all the proposals, we know how much money we have, and we hash it out. And so what you have here is a list of proposals that we're bringing forward for the work this summer, itemized as you see here, to a total of $84,180. Questions on that, I'll be happy to answer.
Note that less than 20% of that is coming out of the district budget. It appears the vast majority of it is covered by grants.
Yes, which is a good use of the grants.
Okay. Any questions on summer curriculum projects?
What's the approximate student rate this year will be attending summer school?
This isn't summer school. This is money to pay teachers to work on curriculum development and other related kinds of projects.
Do you have any other questions? Roll, please.
Can I ask a question? Do the teachers submit these themselves, or do you help them find them?
It's a little bit of both, but oftentimes it comes from the teachers or their departments and bubbles up that way. There are some projects that are district or building based as well.
Thanks.
You can kind of in some of the descriptions, if it's an individual, oftentimes it's a person who maybe is going to teach a new course, and we support new course proposals by tying it to a project so they can work on the curriculum. It might be a PLT, a professional learning team, a group of teachers who all teach the same course, they might be working on something. It might be a group of teachers who are working on developing something for an intervention for an at-risk group of students, and several other different options there too.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do you need to call the roll, please?
Collins?
Aye.
Childers? Aye. Bessler? Aye. Sullivan? Owen? Aye. Lee? McGrath?
Aye. Next up, may I have a motion on item 16, wellness screenings? Thank you. Great.
Yeah, this is just, I think this will be the 9th year that we will have implemented this as part of our wellness program. And Optum Health is the new name of the company that we used to use called Wellness Inc. They got bought out, but the price has gone up approximately $3. I believe last year it was $82 per screening. And this is something that the insurance committee talks about and discusses this with the MTA in terms of the cost of this, but we see this as very beneficial for early screening and diagnoses of some issues. You can see on page 2 all the different blood chemicals that are assessed and tracked longitudinally for each employee. They can go into their particular secure account and see their history of let's say, the glucose levels over the years. So we feel it's very valuable, and we feel the cost of this will pay itself back immensely in health insurance savings to the district.
And it does. Angel.
What's our participation rate then?
It has dropped off. We had some incentives, so to speak. I guess they were more penalty-based. We had to stop doing those. Well, they were. And yeah, the incentive was, if you come, you don't have to pay as much in insurance. So,
Pretty good incentive.
Yeah. So actually, our participation level has pretty much been cut in half as a result of that.
So the mirror side of that would be, if you come, we will not only pay for you to get this test, but we'll also turn around and pay for a portion of your insurance. Why don't we make it benefit-based and put the exact same motivator in there instead of making it negative?
And that is something that we can put on the agenda for the insurance company.
And I would ask that you do it simply because of the fact that we know how effective this is at Informal District.
And we have new regs from the Department of Labor.
Absolutely.
The EEOC, on what is allowed in terms of incentives, et cetera, for wellness programs.
And I'm certainly not proposing that we violate any regulations.
No, but we actually have some real guidance now that,
Absolutely.
we
But
kind of listened before.
related to this, and I just want to bring it up because it was 8 years ago or so that we've been well the same for a number of years. And I thought this was a terrific idea to lead the district, and I thought you could use it a lot better. But I think that the heart screen that I also brought to the district about 8 years ago, that I know we're doing with students because we get a grant from Advocate to do it, and we do 2 schools a year, we're not going to maintain that, and I think this district should turn around and put its commitment to keeping students as healthy as it does its employees. So I think we should look at that for next year in order to make sure that every school will do it every other year. As a side note, so you're not surprised when I bring it up a year from now, that's where it is.
Second it. Oh, sorry.
You catch one kid with a problem, it's paid for all the tests that we take.
And there's been over 100,000 through that program screened in the course of the district. And there's some very moving stories. And they're making these every year, those same parents, Maine West. We had a pretty good turnout. We had a great turnout again in Maine South. It was the first school that we've done a second round in a 2-year series of catching kids. So,
And
and hearts for life.
As we thank people, when we thank the volunteers, those parents who contribute their time, turn around and help make those tests happen. I mean, there's a whole group of people that these principals really can rely on to make things happen in the districts.
I think Dr. Collins is one of them.
Well, Dr. Collins doesn't get to get thanked anymore. A week ago, she got thanked. Party time's over.
That wasn't in the oath.
But, Terry, I thank you for all the work you do.
Actually, that house screening was great. I've worked at Maine West, Maine South twice. And it's fantastic. And the guy who lost his son, I can't remember his name, but Laura was his wife. And they tell just the story of, it's just heartbreaking. And they have a stack of cards like this of all the kids who have lost their lives from sudden cardiac arrest. And when you see that list of, it's a deck, it looks like baseball cards. It's just heartbreaking. So I agree we should do wellness and screenings for all.
Yes,
Supporting them to the
that's
extent
what
we
I'm
can.
proposing.
Yes.
And I will be talking about heavily a year from now. Other than that, I call the question.
Childers. Aye. Sullivan. Collins. Aye. Bessler. Owen. Aye. Lee.
Aye.
McGrath.
Aye. I have a motion on item 17, approval of bids and awarding of
You
contracts.
want all of them together or individually?
I think they should be individual.
I'll move 17A armored floor for the locker room floor bid. Main South.
Second. Okay. Questions, comments?
We had some tiles popping off in the showers and the floors in the locker rooms. We investigated a project, what we'll grind down and then put a solid surface epoxy shield over it. It has a 25-year warranty. We believe that's the best solution. Since we can't find the tiles to match, since we don't know what's going on with tiles, but we feel that this is a good product. It's in line with our movement toward total cost of ownership and providing products that can be maintained easily for years to come. Armored, we received 3 bids. Armored flooring was the low bid. They've done this installation in other school districts that we visited, so we are confident that this is the right product for us.
Where are they from, located?
They are located in Plainfield.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Jenny, if you take roll, please.
Reed. Bessler. Collins. Owen. Childers. Sullivan. McGrath.
I will move 17D, HR imaging, as I discussed before.
Second.
HR Imaging has been providing our student photography services for a number of years. 3 years ago, we went out and did an RFP, a request for proposal for photography services. HR Imaging provides products that are 20% cheaper for our families, provides non-cash incentives, including our entire ID program, and a rebate that goes back to the yearbook. We are recommending a 2-year extension to the contract. We had the extension written into the request for proposal. The schools are happy with their services, so we are recommending a 2-year extension.
Any questions?
So how long have they been with us?
HR Imaging precedes that 3 years. I believe they were at some of the schools for much longer than that, but we consolidated and made sure that we have one vendor at all of the schools. So they've been with the district for many, many years. But 3 years ago, we opened up the opportunity and received multiple proposals for photography services.
And they're giving us a compensation to district $33,300.
They're providing non-cash benefits to the district annually, in excess of $33,000. So the largest of which is our entire ID system.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Jenny, take roll.
Sullivan. Owen. Lee. Collins. Childers. Bessler. McGrath.
Aye.
I will move 17C, Coleman Crescent Consulting Services, total cost of $28,510.59.
Second.
So we, you heard mentioned this evening visible learning, work with John Hattie. It's a collection of meta-analyses on research-based instructional practices. We want to bring this experience to our teachers and administrators in the district. And we have worked with Ainsley Rose, one of the consultants with this group before, and had success with him. It's a very expensive proposition, but as is our want in the last few years, we have become entrepreneurial. So we are hosting this 3-day workshop starting in August and concluding in November, and selling half of the seats to our outside districts, and they went like hotcakes. So we have sold out. We have 50 internals and 50 externals, and we are putting some money in the bank. So we've already collected the money.
So this motion should be coming from Mary, correct? Because she's excited.
Mary is trained me. Trained me well. So I'm just looking for approval of the contract so we can actually.
Did you divide those number of people by 1.2 million?
Well, but Mary, one of the things Barbara and I have talked about, and right now it's a space limitation. I know it's something you've been interested in before.
Well, I'm very glad that
Yeah.
this concept has taken
Yeah.
hold
Well,
of selling.
What we're going to start exploring is
This is my stretch goal.
looking at bigger venues, Rosemont or wherever. So because we get 100 like that, if we go to 2 or 3.
And what are you charging?
I think it's in the neighborhood of $650 a seat.
I'm sorry, what's this 1.2 million? What's the significance
So
of
we're
it?
short.
Oh, okay.
And if, because they're doing it this way, not only are they getting it for free, but we're making a couple of bucks.
But I let our keep the money nice to do more professional development.
And then she won't ask for other money so we can still keep working.
Well, and what this will do, this will pay for things that maybe we're not gonna sell outside seats for, but we want to fund. So it's a
Yeah.
way to produce revenue that we can turn around for professional development.
Pretty much nobody does this in schools, and we've been doing it, and Barb's done just a phenomenal job at this.
We have another one that I'll be bringing a contract forward for too in the fall. And actually, Ken and I have talked about some other ideas, so.
Good, I'm glad you're thinking in that direction, that's
Yeah.
great.
All right, are there any other questions? Take the roll, please.
Owen? Aye. Collins?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Lee? Bessler? Aye. Sullivan? McGrath?
Aye. Next item is a facilities fee waiver. Is there a motion on that?
I so move.
I'll second it.
Okay.
State Rep Marty Moylan is sponsoring a shredding event in the South Park, not softball field here. And I think that it's a worthy item that it's worth waiving a $60 fee for in order to allow our residents to bring their items to the shred.
Absolutely.
All right. Financial wellness too, you're protecting your.
Absolutely.
Tie this all together one fee. Are there any questions or comments? Ginny, take the roll.
Bessler? Aye. Childers?
Aye.
Collins? Lee? Owen? Aye. Sullivan? McGrath?
Aye. Calendar items? Other than the graduations, last day of school, and then our, we approved the calendar earlier for the board meeting on the 9th of June.
Just want to share that I will be this year too again committed, and I will be attending our 3 graduation ceremonies. Anybody else is planning to attend? Anybody?
I'm doing Maine East.
Maine.
I'm Maine West.
Oh, all three? Overachievers on either side.
Yes,
Okay.
And all the greetings has been selected too.
All right.
Who's speaking with?
Anybody?
I have to look at my chart, so,
West.
east and west.
All right, any other calendar items? Nothing yet, but,
We'll get one. For the policy.
okay, so, hopefully, new board member will be driving around here, hopefully have some assignments out end of this week at the latest. Okay, next up is communications, I don't see anything, anybody communicate? All right.
Mike's here, Mike and Johannes are here, hold on.
They don't have a card.
I won't hold them to the card requirement if they like, if there's something they need to add. All right, can I have a motion to go into closed session for purposes of review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, performance, discipline, or dismissal of specific employees, and probable imminent or pending litigation?
Second.
Okay, take the roll, please.
Childers? Lee? Sullivan? Owen? Bessler? Collins? McGrath?
Aye. We are in closed session, thank you.